Hello, filmmakers, and watchers and lovers of, and dreamers and thinkers about film. On today's episode of How to Make a Film, Dan and I talk about the beguiling accents of actors. Why Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, for example, sounded exactly like Kevin Costner in Yellowstone, or Kevin Costner anywhere. Courtesy of listener Juliet, we discuss the fine art of casting, how it's done, when it's done, and how casting is a little more than just finding the best person for the role. And we have a special guest. Dan's very own filmmaking business advisor, James Crawley, joins us to provide some very sound tips on how to raise money for your film. Accents, casting, and a little business advice, among other how to make a film type things. My name is Sean Hurley. I'm a playwright and TV show staff writer, and sitting directly across the immense Atlantic Ocean from me is Dan Freeman, writer, director, lovely person, and the mighty force behind the film in progress, Hold Excalibur.
Hello, Sean.
How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
Pretty good.
Yeah, well, British people don't say, oh, hey, I'm doing great. You know, it's like...
You're supposed to start the podcast out with a bang, like you're in the best mood ever, and you just can't wait. That's what we do in the United States. Over there, it's a little more realistic, maybe.
Well, we don't do that because we're British, by God.
Okay.
We don't.
Well, I'm doing great over here, so I'll balance you out.
You savages. That's just not how civilized people behave. But anyway.
It's false cheer.
I'll take false cheer, over British misery, genuine misery.
Okay.
Because if you go into a shop in the States, people go, hey, how are you doing? I mean, I know they don't mean it, but it's nice. it feels good. If you do it in Britain...
I think they might mean it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, they
can never be sure.
At least they do it. And in Britain, there's a sort of, a reluctance to be helpful. But anyway.
Well, we love being sort of false here. There's a great deal of inauthentic cheeriness and cruelty, and it all seems fake to me. But you never know. If you encounter the false cheer, that's fine. It's nice. It just, it's not an impediment to your day. You just kind of go right through it like cotton candy.
Which we call candy floss in Britain. Just FYI.
I know. I don't think that's not right.
Well, it is right because we were here first.
It's not correct.
Mind you, you probably invented it.
We invented it.
Yeah. Okay.
We did. And then you took it and you said, how can we make this much worse? And then sell it sadly in our shops. Candy floss.
I've got a film-related thing.
That's good.
Yeah. There's a beloved tree in Britain on Hadrian's Wall. It's featured in the 1991 Robin Hood film with Kevin Costner, but it's been much photographed. And some bugger chopped it down, went and chainsawed it.
Is that the tree that's in the valley? There's sort of like this beautiful valley. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. That
seems like it would be such an observed tree that nobody would ever be able to touch it. Like there'd always be someone there.
Well, I imagine it's pretty remote. Hadrian's Wall it goes through quite some remote places. But it just reminded me about the sort of British and American thing of cultural appropriation of candy floss. I remember being quite surprised going in to see a film about Robin Hood, and it wasn't Robin Hood, it was Rabin Hood, and it was Kevin Costner not even attempting an English accent. Me and my friends were sitting in the cinema going, what? Is he? Robin Hood wasn't American.
I'm sure he tried.
I don't think he did,
During the first 2 weeks of production, I'm sure he was trying. I'm sure they had a vocal coach in, and he just couldn't do it. So, was that Ridley Scott that did that?
No. In fact, I've just watched Ridley Scott's Robin Hood on Blu-ray, and I've got a new idea for a feature, on our podcast, which is we watch a Blu-ray, or one of us watches a Blu-ray. I'm watching them for the DVD extras and to learn from them with the special features and so on. And once I've watched them, we should give them away to the person who writes the most ridiculously positive review of us.
Ooh.
On iTunes or whatever.
So the most American review wins the DVD.
Okay, well, the most American review wins the DVD of the Blu-ray rather, of Ridley Scott's Robin Hood. So send us your review by next Monday and we'll...
And this will be your used copy.
It'll be
not
a used
brand new
copy. It's got authentic value as been manhandled by me. And in fact, I got it at a charity shop. So
wow, this sounds great.
Yeah, it's organic.
I actually might,
and it's not very good as well. So it's a triple whammy. You can have a crap third-hand Blu-ray.
And it's not very good. Like it skips or the quality isn't good?
No, it's just not a good film.
Oh, I see. Oh, what a great... Oh, Dan, you've really figured this whole thing out. This is a great angle.
I got it. Thank you. Now listen, we've got a guest.
Oh, yes.
So the guest is my business tutor, James. And last year I decided to start a production company. So I decided to learn how to do business, and I went on a business course that was absolutely brilliant. So I decided to invite my tutor, James, on to tell us a bit about what we're doing here. So are you there, James?
I am. Hi, I'm really happy to be here.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You obviously haven't heard it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was really going to say I'm not bad. But no, yeah, really thanks for having me on, guys. I quite like it when Americans don't bother with accents, or people don't bother with accents in films. I think it's quite endearing. I liked it with Sean Connery in Highlander as well. He was just like, I'm just going to be Scottish. I don't care if I'm supposed to be Spanish. I'm just going to do it my way anyway. I think it's funny.
And with somebody like Kevin Costner, though, you don't expect them to do it. It'd be like if Harrison Ford was Robin Hood. You know he can't do it, or he wouldn't do it. You just want Harrison Ford to be doing it. But it can be irritating if it's something that's particularly English or particularly American, and then there's no accent. And I do think that, over here, when we do films that have Americans in them, English people don't get away with, they got to do the accent or they're out. There's no flexibility. So even if we had your most mighty actor come over here to do some very American film, they're going to have to do an American accent. We're not going to tolerate that.
Yeah, I think they have to, because like if someone has a British accent, they're automatically a villain.
Yeah.
Or some kind of really sinister character, so they've got no choice.
Right.
The only person that I think that can do a really good American accent, Idris Elba, smashes it. Like, I didn't even know he was British until I'd seen him in some kind of in Luther and stuff. I first saw him in The Wire and just thought he was an American guy. He was so good at it.
I find that astonishing, because it's somehow the accent really conveys this kind of geographic space. And so when you hear somebody that's like in an American TV show, and you suddenly realize that they're English, but all along you've been assuming, because they're just so good at it, that they're American, it really throws your mind into strange places. It's very hard to reconfigure who they are anymore. You almost just can't think about them, because it's not processable, because they do such a good job, and it's such an inhabited accent. I don't know. We're talking too much about accents. Dan, business.
We can talk about accents.
Okay.
Sorry, Dan, I completely derailed this.
No, it never was close to the rails, don't worry. Why do you have so many British... I mean, you worked with Ben Kingsley and...
I didn't specifically work with Sir Ben. So I worked on a TV show called Perpetual Grace Limited, and Sir Ben Kingsley was one of the stars. And when he was shooting his scenes, it was a very, very limited crew. I think by request and design. So he was always this very sheltered little diamond that we conveyed around by secret train and caravan. And he would do his scenes, and the sun would come out, and only a very few select people would be there. And but I think just the idea of him made me lose the idea of what your question was. Was it why do we make
why are all actors in American stuff? Why are they all British pretending to be American?
Oh, here's the thing. So whenever I speak to you, I always am surprised that you have this very high opinion of Americans, because I don't know what it is, but growing up, and I always had this sense that English people look down on Americans as sort of this rough and tumble lot of cowboys who weren't quite educated and didn't quite know what was doing, were selfish and greedy and awful, and probably shoot you with a 6-gun if they got the chance.
Yeah, that covers it, I would say, yeah.
Oh, that's true. But, well, you made me feel like you think Americans are cool.
I don't think I ever went there, no.
No?
I mean...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm mistaken. So anyway, Americans have an impression of English people as having something a little extra, a little, like, educationally, culturally, a little richer than us, we. So whenever I think they're casting and an English actor walks through the door, I think there's a sense of, oh, there's going to be a little something extra special here. And there's a little exotic quality that we don't have that it's tantalizing to filmmakers. And so I think they have a better shot.
The one accent, I think, I used to be a linguist. I'm very, very tuned to languages. So I would say I'm very good at spotting accents. But Sean Astin's accent in Lord of the Rings, I thought he was English. And I mean, that's I can't think of a place where it slightly falters even. And I spoke to him not long ago. He was just saying he just hadn't practiced or anything. He just kind of, I think he got into it in a few hours or something.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing.
I mean, some people do have that facility. I wouldn't have thought he would have that facility. I don't know why.
I don't think he thought he would have it.
Yeah.
I don't. It's pretty amazing.
There must have been someone on the crew though that was from that kind of Gloucester, kind of Stroud area, because it is bang on. Like it's a really good kind of southwest farmer, county accent. It's bang on. I agree with you. It's really, really good.
They had an accent coach called Roisin Carty, who's really, really amazing. I think it would be her work.
Oh wow, she's that good.
Yeah, she's good, but he's good. I mean, but anyway, James. All right. Let's get to the point.
Enough accent talk, sorry.
Well, no, it's good. I mean...
It is interesting.
It is interesting, and we're all learning stuff here. A lot of people are learning not to listen to podcasts that have just come up randomly on their feed. But James, on the course, when we were trying to... I was trying to learn how to have a production company, how to use business principles in entertainment. I mean, I never thought of myself as a business person, and I never wanted to be one. I just wanted to do my thing, but... In learning how to do business, you were very keen for us all to be in the videos that we were putting out and be the sort of front and center of social media posts and things like that. And nobody wanted to do it. No, everyone's going, oh no, I don't want to. I just want to do the business. I just want to that's how I felt. I just want to be behind the camera. I want to do my thing. I want to write, direct, and I don't want to do. Why is it important for people to be on camera and be the center of the thing that they're doing?
So there's a few reasons why we do that. So to put a little bit of background into it, so you were on a course with about another 20 people who all had completely different businesses. From what I remember, there was a couple of people who had various shops selling beautiful / cool things. There was somebody who was running kind of a kids party thing. We work with people across all kind of different sectors. And it's really, really important that if you're in a relatively small business, that it has a personality that people can attach themselves to, because people bond with people. Every single transaction that you make is a personal one, and it's about kind of building those relationships. And without being front and center within that relationship, it just doesn't work. People want to hide behind a logo or a set of business cards or whatever it is, and it just becomes this really impersonal, transactional thing. And actually being part of that process, being there, showing people who you are and what you stand for and what your values are, gives people something to kind of latch onto and say, actually, that reflects how I feel about things. I kind of chime with that, so I want to get more involved in that relationship. So what we did is we get people to make little videos on their phone, just like a little minute talking to camera about themselves. And everybody absolutely freaks out. They just can't deal with it. You can see their faces drop, and, we say, if you don't do it in the first 30 takes, put your phone down, go and do something else, pick it up again an hour later and try again. And we have people that literally will spend kind of most of the week, because we see people kind of on a weekly basis, we're used to on that program. They spend a whole week just panicking about this video, and it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes in the group, in the WhatsApp chat with kind of 20 other people. It doesn't go anywhere. No one's going to judge them. No one's looking. Everyone's too busy bricking it about their own, too scared about their own video to worry about anybody else's. And then week in, week out, we give them slightly bigger challenges about these videos to get people more and more used to just being in front of it and talking in a way that isn't really salesy and cringy, and getting them to realise that actually what you think about yourself isn't really important. It's about how it's projected in the world and how you're seen by your potential customers.
Is that what you'd advise people to do if they... I mean, we've got a question from Michael Jason Stokes, who's asked about realistic funding strategies for filmmakers. But I imagine for someone making a film, it's particularly important to do what you're suggesting.
Yeah, you can't hide behind anything. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna sit behind the camera and just gonna make it in the dark and then just put it out there. It doesn't work like that. You need to form relationships with people. You need to find collaborators. You need to find people that are interested in what you're selling fundamentally. Like, if you just think about anything to do with a film, they talk about things and release information to build hype about that. And if you haven't got this big marketing machine behind you, you need to get people on board in a different way, which is what we kind of said to you back along, was you need to document everything that you're doing and get people to be excited about it. And if you're excited about it and bring the energy, people will match that energy. You were kind of talking that at the start of the podcast, saying you need to come in being all big and brash and American. But actually, there's a bit of truth to what Sean was saying, really, in the fact that if you're excited about something, people will feed off your excitement and reflect that back at you. Whereas if you go in really British and going, oh yeah, I'm making a film, but I'm not sure it's going to be any good, and being all sarcastic, people aren't going to be interested. You need to come in and go, it's going to be awesome. It's got swords in it. It's going to be really fantastic. People are going to chop their heads off. People get excited.
So when you're being excited and engaging with people, as you're saying, for say a filmmaker who's just starting out, who's trying to raise money, if I came to you now and said, I want to make a film, how do I get the money together? I haven't got anything. Are you talking about going on social media? Presumably it's mainly social media, doing pitch videos. And
whenever you're trying to get any money from anybody, the only thing they really care about is how big your audience is. Because fundamentally, if you want people to come and see or take part in anything that you're doing, if you can say, well, I've already got 2, 3, 5,000 people that are already into this and we haven't even produced anything yet, it shows that there's a demand for what you're going to do. And whenever you're doing a film, like, you're already understanding with what you're doing, you get little bits to get bigger bits to get bigger bits of money all the way through. So at every point, you need to build your audience a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger to show that there's a demand for what you're doing, that people are interested and you're on the right track with it all. So it's just a case of being as open and telling a story all the way through. You know, it's about, we kind of joke about it being your own reality TV star. It's so easy to document this stuff. Like the tech that we're using today on this, between us, we've probably got, what, 500 quid's worth of microphone equipment and phones and stuff between us. Like, it isn't expensive. It's just about doing it really, really regularly. The statistics of, if you go past 6 podcast episodes, you're already in the top 5% of podcast makers. People start this stuff and then kind of give up because it's difficult to kind of maintain energy, and that's all business is just not giving up. It's just saying, I'm just going to keep going. I've done a couple of marathons. People who've done marathons love talking about their own marathons, but I've run a couple of marathons without having trained properly for them. And I just realised that you just don't stop running. You just, all stumbling forward, you just keep your forward momentum. And running a business is exactly the same thing. I always say to people, I can't give you passion and I can't give you grit. I can teach you everything else. I can teach you about pricing. I can teach you about marketing. I can teach you about operations. I can teach you about leadership. All that other stuff is just skills that you can pick up. But I can't make you keep giving a damn about it. And I can't stop you from giving up on it. And I can't make you like it. Everything else I can help you to do. So it's just a case of making sure that you're doing something that you genuinely love to do, and you're not going to give up doing it no matter how hard it is. Because if you look at every successful person in whatever industry you're talking about, they've had so many setbacks and they've just kept going and kept going and kept going. Whether it's sport, entertainment, business, cooking, whatever it is, they've just grafted and grafted and grafted, and eventually you throw enough punches, you get somewhere.
What was the last thing that you said? Hooking? Booking?
Cooking.
Oh, cooking.
Yeah.
They said hooking, and I thought, what? Over here.
If you want, so sorry, James.
If you want to be top of your hooking game, you just got to keep going.
Yeah, you do, I guess.
Sean already is.
Yeah, that's what I do.
If you haven't got, I'm just thinking, if someone hasn't got any followers at all on social media, I mean, I know so many people like this who just want to make a film. They just want to do their thing. They haven't got any presence on social media. They haven't got any followers. What do you say to them? I mean,
again, you just need to keep making anything and putting it out there. And if it's any good, people will find it. The amount of stuff that's out there these days, I know there's much, much more content out there, but the algorithms are also really, really good at picking up if people do like it. So I would just say, anybody can make anything with a phone. Just start making stupid stuff that you like, and if you like it, other people will like it. It's as simple as that. And again, you listen to that many podcasts of creators that just said, for 10 years I was just making stuff for me and my mates, and then for some reason something kicked off and it keeps going. It is that thing, you just got to throw enough punches and it will keep happening for you. So, and there's also strategies around social media as well. It's going around and following people that are doing things that are similar to you, that you like, commenting on their things, starting conversations. Like, social media isn't something where you just keep blurting out what you had for dinner and you've got all this stuff. It's about communicating with people. The social bit is the important bit, not the media. You need to be actually communicating with people on a regular basis. It's hard work. Like, running a business or creating anything isn't easy. It's not the easy way to do things. Having a job is infinitely easier than making something for yourself.
Looking at it through this lens, it's almost like that's all you're doing. If you're trying to make this film, you're not ever making the film. You're just sort of pitching the film or trying to make those contacts. Like, it seems like it's almost the full-time thing of making the film is actually trying to get other people to help you make that film. And I'm assuming, Dan, that you maybe struggled against that because you just wanted to be, write the script, find the people that are going to be in it. And I'm just wondering how, Dan, you sort of put some of these plans into action. If you did.
Well, I did, in fact, because I just thought, I didn't want to do the videos or anything, but I thought I'm on the course, I've got to try it. I did say to James, I don't want to do that. And he was like, no, just, It was funny, the girl who was next to me on the course, it was really helpful because she said, no, I don't want to be in the video. I don't want to do videos. I just want to do my thing. I don't want to do all this social media stuff. And she said exactly what I was thinking. So I thought, God, everyone thinks that. I've got to get in front of it and do it. And then I started communicating with people. I had a sort of epiphany because James and his partner Neil, who run the courses, were saying, why don't you want to go in front of the camera? And I was thinking, people think I'm stupid or think, what does he know? And who's this guy? And all these kind of insecurities. There was a lot of psychology to it. So I kind of just made myself do it. And now I find myself having, frankly, really lovely correspondences with people. We were taught to be yourself, and we were told, just be open, and what James has just been saying. And I sort of am fairly open, and I've been corresponding with people all over the world, who like my work and things. And it's been really very, very positive, I would say. So, yeah, thank you, James.
To a certain extent, what we're exploring here is kind of like the new world. The world that I sort of grew up in was the old world where if you're going to make a movie, you have to do it in a particular type of way, unless you're going to really figure out you're going to try to raise $2 million from your friends or mortgage your house or, do some sort of Steven Soderbergh in the 90s kind of a film that you just figure out how to fund it yourself. But there is this whole other way that people are still struggling to make films by working through the studios and things like that, and they're not doing any social media stuff. My friend Steve, who makes TV shows and films, he doesn't pitch anything to anybody unless it's like in a fancy office in LA or Hollywood or something. But I really do feel like what James is talking about is kind of where everything is really shifting toward. And even somebody like Steve, I could imagine in a few years, based on the sort of the state of how things are going in the big world, big TV, big films, that it may even start to resemble that kind of thing where some big filmmaker, like James Gunn or something, decides he's going to make his own movie outside of everything and he's going to crowdfund it. Or, Neil Gaiman, I could see him doing it because it's been wrestled away from that private suite where the special people meet. And now it's just come to the land and anybody can do it. But you do have to get over that social media hurdle. And I don't think that I ever could. I've tried it and I've struggled with it, but I almost feel like I would rather write, and this is sad, but I would rather write 20 scripts or plays or things like that and just work on them and keep working on them rather than commit any time to trying to get any of them made in this particular way, because it seems like it's its own separate world that would require all of my attention. I wouldn't be able to make anything anymore. But it's such a strange, problem to face. Maybe it's easier, though.
Could you convert him, James?
I don't think I can necessarily convert you. I think there's some of it is a muscle, and some of it you just have to. If you have the inclination, you can work on it and get better at it. And the better you get, the more efficient you get at it. So initially doing 30 takes, within a couple of weeks, you realise that actually the bloopers or the ums and the ahs don't make any difference. It just means it's more real. And actually, the only bit you need to be doing is the recording bit. You can outsource all the rest of that. So Neil, my business partner, and I, we had someone who was taking care of all of our kind of TikTok admin. We would just meet once a month for an hour and record a load of stuff of us talking and general business, tips and stuff like that. And she would then take care of the posting and all the bits of that. So it doesn't have to take up that huge amount of time. The bit that's important is that kind of authenticity is a really difficult word, but it's that kind of openness and the connection that you kind of talked about before. That's the really key bit. People want to feel inside of something and part of something, and that's what gets people excited and willing to then buy props and that process that Dan's kind of going through to kind of help people start to crowdfund things. They want to feel part of it early doors and want to feel like they're involved in things in a way that makes them feel special. So, but it's a really different way of doing things. And we were kind of so used to the system of entertainers being on this pedestal and being really untouchable, and that kind of started to get broken down in the kind of indie scene in the UK. There was bands started to become much more through MySpace and that kind of thing, like about 20 years ago. They became much more touchable by the audience or much more reachable. I mean, I think it's really great that it kind of democratizes things and it stops it from being this, it's just for the big boys to kind of dole out these massive blockbuster movies. And actually I think it's more interesting to have the smaller stuff. It doesn't seem to get made these days because it's not as much of a sure thing if it's not part of a franchise or got a got a superhero in it somewhere.
Okay, so thanks very much, James. Thanks for enduring the podcast with us. That's
all the tree talk and candy floss.
Yeah. I hope that was...
it was great.
It was very useful. Yeah, thanks a lot, James.
Nice to meet you, James. That was very nice.
Yeah, you too. I'd happily come back on again and talk about more accents that I enjoy.
Lovely.
Brilliant. Where can people find you online, James, if they've got business questions or filmmaking questions?
Yeah, so we're on TikTok. So it's KinAwesome UK, all one word, KIN Awesome UK, and the website is kinawesome.co.uk. But have a look on there. We've got loads of free online stuff. You can come and talk to us about business whenever you want to. We do stuff on a Friday afternoon. You can pop in and say hello and we can answer your business queries.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, James.
Thanks, James. Cheers. What's TikTok?
Oh, no. Somebody has to go back to school.
This can go in the podcast as well. We're just at the stage when you're trying to get investment, which we're trying to do at the moment in the company for our productions. You put out a pitch deck, it's called, and it's a document kind of outlining what you get for your investment. And it has to be clear to people who are investors, who are regular investors, as to all the financial stuff in it. I don't know if you've seen Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or something. It's a bit like that.
I've seen segments of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So I think I've seen early drafts of the pitch deck. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Right.
You've seen ours, yeah. Yeah. But Dave, our art director, we got it done by a graphic designer, and then Dave, the art director, has finessed it, and it looks absolutely stunning. It's really good. So we're very excited.
And so how will you begin to distribute that?
Well, at the moment, I'm sending it out to people, including you, I hope.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Who will give me some notes on it. So again, I've been asking some friends and connections and colleagues and stuff just to give me feedback on it. And then we'll try and get it into the best state possible. And then we just send it out to anyone who's interested. I'll go into this form of funding maybe in a future episode, but yeah, it's very exciting. Anyway.
And how long will this sort of last stage take before you send it out? Like, is this just a few days, or is it such a process and such a thing there? It has to be so perfect that it's going to take weeks.
I think it might take a couple of weeks, just because I think there's no point in not getting as much feedback as you can. We really want it to work. And what we're doing is again, I'll go into it in more detail if people want me to, but it's called equity crowdfunding. So it's like reward crowdfunding. So it's like a Kickstarter, except that instead of rewards, you get shares in the company. So you end up owning part of the company.
Oh, I see.
So what's really exciting, what James was talking about, democratizing the production process, is that this could be the first kind of geek fan-owned production company, which should be, that's my dream, really.
Well, that's much better than something like NFTs. It seems like it combines that thing where you're supporting something, but then you're not just getting kind of a funny little prize.
Yeah.
You're investing in something. So it's like that combination of this sort of crowd support, which is almost old-fashioned a tiny bit, but with this new angle of you're investing in something that you could, potentially maybe make a profit. I mean, is that how it works? If you own...
That's the idea, yeah. Huh. I mean, if the company makes a profit and you've got shares in it, you can make a profit. So, yeah. So anyway, I'll go into it in more detail if people are interested, because it is a new way of funding filmmaking.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah.
But I've got a list here of things to talk to you about.
Okay.
I saw a great film on Disney called No One Will Save You, and I just want to recommend that to you and our listener.
Juliet?
Really? Yeah. I don't want to say anything about it, really, apart from the fact that it's got almost no speech in it. Have a look at it. And
why don't you want to say anything about it? Is just saying anything about it somehow give the whole thing away?
Well, it won't give the whole thing away, but I think you're better off going in not knowing what's going to happen in it. I would just advise going in cold, but I think it's really, really, really good film.
Okay.
No One Will Save You, and that's on Disney+. And also, another recommendation I've got is Ballerina by Lee Chung-hyun on Netflix. And that is a Korean kind of John Wick type thing. And I watched that last night when I was failing to sleep. Ballerina. And it's a really very interestingly directed film, and it's got some very interesting techniques using close-ups to suggest mood rather than fact, than exposition, which is very interesting. So I recommend that to people. So we have a question from Juliet, our listener.
Hello, Juliet.
Hello, Juliet. And she asks us to talk about casting. Do you have anything she just wants us to chat about casting? So
general ideas about casting?
Well, just talk about casting, I guess. It's quite interesting, wasn't it?
So the first thing that came to mind is sort of like what would happen in our TV land when we were working on, Patriot or Perpetual Grace, or maybe before we knew who was what. So we would just start pitching around actors that we really like for certain parts, and we would actually print out pictures of them and put them on the wall, and then assemble all these people that we were thinking about, almost like a strange family photo where, like there's Ben Kingsley and then Louis Gomez and whatever. I mean, there is a role, like there are people that are really, really very specialized in the casting world where they just kind of have the magic touch in both finding the right performers for particular roles and then finding the right ensembles. But it's often the filmmakers themselves that have some desire or feel for at least some of the characters, and they will, often write their things with those characters in mind, sort of like Tarantino wrote Pulp Fiction with Samuel Jackson in mind, or writes a lot of the films that have Samuel Jackson that Quentin Tarantino, he knew he was going to have Samuel Jackson in them. And I think it really helps filmmakers to write characters that they already sort of know the actor. And you don't have to do a lot of work. It's sort of like the character's fully there and present in their mind, and they can just hear them talking, and there's a great deal of ease. And then I think it gets tricky when you don't have an idea of who this person is. And that's maybe when you start leaning into the casting director to find that magic somebody that can not only fit the role, but it's also like you're not just trying to find the best person, you're trying to find the best person who also matches somehow with the great amoeba of humanity that will be a part of this film. Yeah.
I've just been casting for my play, which is on next month in Lancaster and Halifax in Northern England. And one of the actors, obviously I know my play inside out, and it's a comedy, and one of the actors was so funny in his audition that he made me laugh out loud. I mean, I was just sitting there watching the screen, and he's so funny. And maybe we can get him on. There was an actor called James Oates who was so just hilarious. But anyway, that's beside the point. But
but one of the things that you do when you're doing your plays is you usually try to find actors with some kind of name recognition.
Well,
which we don't do over here at all, or maybe we do, but I don't do it because it seems impossible. Like I can't afford it, and they wouldn't be interested in being in some little play in some little town and some little theater and nowhere. But you seem to do that, and it seems to work for you.
I like to get to know, I do tend to work with the same actors again sometimes, and I try not to do that because of what you said, it's very easy. But I like to get to know actors beforehand through my career rather than suddenly having to cast them. If I know them, then I know what they can do and what they're like, and then beforehand. It's a bit odd. It's like going, saying to actors, hey, let's be friends.
No, I think that's a really common and strong way to make film or TV is, and you'll see it a lot, the directors will, like Steve and his TV shows, the cast of Perpetual Grace is maybe 60 to 75% the cast of Patriot. There's a lot of people that and then the crew as well. There's a lot of people that he carries forward just because he knows them and knows what they can do. And, I think that's something that you see with a lot of filmmakers and TV makers is that they tend to rely on their old faithful friends.
Yeah, if you've got like a sound recordist who you don't know, then you're doing your thing, but you're also kind of monitoring the sound recording because you don't know whether they're going to be doing it right or not. But what you want is a crew of people who you can they'll just do their thing and you don't have to think about it at all. And I suppose you only evolve that. I think probably that's also why directors talk to each other quite a lot. And
now, your play, A Joke, is being performed early November, like the 3rd, 4th, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the 1st to the 4th. And
you're casting it now? Like you haven't started the rehearsal process?
No, we've cast it. We've cast it.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, we cast it a few weeks ago. Yeah. What about your play? What's happening with your play?
So the play is called Claire in the Chair in the Cemetery, and it's about a woman who goes to live in a cemetery. And why she does that is sort of mysterious and something that we figure out as things go along. But she's really just come to live there. But the gravedigger and the tombstone maker and the undertaker don't know she's really come there to live. They think she's come there to die. And so they're under that impression. And so the gravedigger is digging her a hole, and the tombstone maker has made her tombstone, and the undertaker keeps coming by with coffins. When they find out that she's not dying, they sort of take matters into their own hands. And that's going to be, it's weird. We both have plays coming out in November. Mine's coming out the following week, November 10th or 11th or something, and that'll be at Next Stage in Putney, Vermont. And our listener, Juliet, has a family member, I think, or a friend, I think it's a family member, who lives nearby. Isn't that strange?
Isn't she someone that she is related to? Is a set carpenter or something? Or I'm imagining that. I can't.
Yeah, they have worked with the theater company that I'm involved with.
Which is great. So just say again, where can people see that if they're near Putney, Vermont?
I'm not going to, they're going to have to rewind.
Okay.
And listen closely with a pencil. Yeah. It's Next Stage.
Pay attention, people.
Next Stage Arts, Putney, Vermont. So, and this is strange, but I'm still, the script is not complete. It's almost complete.
Shameful.
I know. The actors have been in rehearsal for a month. And last night I went to the studio space and we read through the latest draft. And it's getting very close to being done, but they've all been very kind about it. Surprisingly, it seems that they're enjoying this kind of very messy business of the script changing and things happening. I don't know why they're being so nice to me, but they are. I
imagine it's quite exciting. If you know what you're about, then I'd say that's a sign of good actors.
Oh, I like that. I wish I'd said that. Next time I see them, I'll say that. I'll steal that from you.
Yeah, so I also went to see a film called The Creator.
Oh, yes.
Which is by Gareth Edwards.
Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our secret plan was that we would both see it.
Yeah.
And we would talk about it. But I couldn't get on the right horse to get there.
Well, I got the right horse, but I went to the Odeon in Crewe in Cheshire, and about 1/20 of the screen was green from the fire exit sign. The film was just slightly out of focus all the way through.
Oh, my goodness.
And it kept flickering for some reason. So it was a bit painful. But to be fair to them, they did give me my money back when I did an English moan. But this is a really, really interesting event in film history, I would say, because it's made in a very, very interesting way. It's made on a prosumer camera. So the camera's I think it's about $4,000, which is a lot, to anybody normal, but in professional, in IMAX terms, it's insanely cheap. And
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's a small light camera. I think it's a Sony FX3. I could be wrong. And Gareth operated himself. He was the cameraman. And this sounds ridiculous, but I didn't know you could do that.
Right.
I thought you had to just have a DOP, a director of photography, and I can never remember. Do we call it a DOP and you call it a DP? Is that right?
That sounds right.
I didn't know I was allowed to operate the camera. I mean, so I always think, I could just want to line it up myself. I thought I was kind of rude, or I wasn't allowed to. I mean, it sounds silly, but there's Gareth running around.
I don't know if you typically can. I mean, he might have had to have some kind of membership in the Guild of Photographers or whatever the DOP/DP guild is in order to do that, because it is often.
Well, he was a cameraman.
Yeah. Oh, so it's because it is very select. So one of the first film TV experiences I had 20 years ago, this TV show came to New Hampshire called The Brotherhood of Pole in New Hampshire by David E. Kelly. It turned out to be a pretty bad TV show, but he's a pretty prolific and solid TV writer. But I did PA work on that. Basically, I would drive the film to the airport every night. It's like a 2-hour drive from here, and the film would get sent off. This was in film days. But one thing that I was made keenly aware of was how specific everyone's role was. So if you weren't the cameraman, you couldn't touch the camera. You couldn't even carry it, from one place to another. Everything was very owned and possessed by one person or one group of people. And if you weren't that person or a member of that group, you couldn't touch it or do any task related to it. So everybody's duties and objects were incredibly separated. So, yeah, that was my impression as well. But now here's Gareth running along the beaches with his Sony FX3, if that's what it is.
Yeah, and he had a light on a boom. So I think he had a single light, and they bounced it off objects, off the floor or something. And they kind of switch scenes, setups in 20 minutes or something. So that really, really appeals to me, that idea of being so light-footed and just being able to get on with it. And another thing he did was use real environments, real locations, and then digitally extend them or do the effects afterwards. So they shot the whole film, then edited it, and then put in the effects afterwards. And the effects are staggering. It looks amazing. It's not a great script. I enjoyed watching it, but I don't think anyone's going to say it's a masterpiece of a script, but it looks absolutely amazing. And there are some lovely ideas and surprises in there.
The two things that I read about the movie were that thing you mentioned about lights, and that how that camera in particular is very good at shooting in low light and capturing everything you need it to capture without all these lights, which allows a great deal of facility. Like, you just move, like you said, through scenes. You go from this scene to this scene, and you don't have to do this huge, massive lighting setup, which is an extremely cumbersome part of most filmmaking, is like setting up the lights and getting it all in place. And then the second thing was that it seems almost like, you wouldn't think about it, but using these exotic locations and actually going there and shooting in Cambodia and Thailand instead of sort of faking it, it seems to have been like half of the work of almost the CGI. Like, he just kind of like, there's going to be amazing CGI, but there's this beautiful actual set that, instead of recreating it digitally or finding something local that sort of looked almost right, he just went wherever, where he goes to Thailand for a bridge, goes to Cambodia for a mountain, and just being rigorous in terms of that traveling. And getting to those locations seems to be another magical ingredient to this, at least the visual part of this film.
Yeah, I think it is. And he said that traveling anywhere with this small crew was cheaper than building everything artificially in CGI. So it's really very inspiring and very, very exciting for anyone who's making films without that enormous budget. Of course, the budget was 80 million, so it's not like it was dirt cheap, but it's very exciting,
but that camera that he used is close to hand.
Yeah,
you're inches and just a few dollars away from being able to shoot at least the digitally affected free footage that Gareth Edwards shot, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Did he do the effects himself, or did that get farmed out, or do you know anything about that part?
Yeah, that was Industrial Light and Magic. But he knows, he's really good at his effects are amazing. He's amazing and knows what he's doing with effects, which is half the battle, isn't it? I don't know what I'm doing on set, but I know what I want, and I know how to ask other people who can do it what I want them to do. And
I know with his earlier film Monsters, he did all the effects, and they're really very good. And that was sort of, I think he did a similar thing where he basically, he went with friends and they just sort of did this road trip and shot a movie along the way. Yeah. And then he put in all the effects afterwards, and just at home in it, like a home computer. But that makes it sound simple. But I think that the thing is that not everybody can do that. Even if you have the same tools, he's able to achieve something a bit remarkable with the same tools that maybe I have on my computer right now, but I can't do it. Yeah. It's a lot like Kubrick's 2001. Like, somehow Kubrick was able to figure out how to make these astonishing cinematic effects that nobody else could quite do. Everybody had the same tools, but he figured out how to do it. Like, he navigated his way to the beauty. And I think Gareth Edwards somehow is able to do that. When you and I would just have, like in Monsters, like a really terrible Godzilla pop up with flashy green screen edges showing all around, and he's able to do something that, maybe it's just, he might just have an incredible visual sense, and
I think he has, yeah. I mean, it's knowing what to do with the tools, and it's the people, not the tools. So
right, yeah. He's just a natural. Neil Blomkamp is very good at that too.
He is, yeah.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
Just like this astonishing double talent of being able to make movies, but then being able to create the visual effects that need to be in there, and then to make them sublime, really. For next to nothing, somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I apologize for not saying that, but you say visually amazing, story okay, but worth seeing, and it's
yeah, I definitely see it at the cinema as well.
Yeah,
because it's I'm going to go and try and see it in IMAX. I want to be able to see it properly. But
you've seen it with all the green light on it and and you got your money back, so you have that extra £10 or whatever or euros. So
shall we leave it there? I think we've done good work here.
We didn't talk much about Hold Excalibur specifically. Should we do that?
I think we did in terms of just about the funding and stuff. I think that's all I wanted to cover. I mean, that's all.
Do we even say Hold Excalibur?
No, but I think that's fine. I think that's fine not to.
I feel like James would be like, say the name of the thing.
No, I think James would tell us just to be
casual,
be amiable, and be ourselves.
And you're just using James cleverly in this instance to get out of saying it or facing this problem. Next time we're going to say it right up front.
Okay.
Yeah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for us. Our warmest thanks to James Crawley for his wise business counsel. There's plenty more of that at his website, kinawesome.co.uk, and more instant hits of terribly good advice from James on every blessed social media platform at KinAwesome UK. That's KINAWESOME UK. And don't forget to leave us a stunning review on iTunes to win Dan's used Blu-ray secondhand copy of Predator. We'll announce Juliet as the winner as soon as Juliet leaves us a review. Please feel free to email your questions to podcast@secretplanet.co.uk. Sign up for updates on Dan's upcoming film Hold Excalibur at secretplanet.co.uk. How to Make a Film was hosted by Dan Freeman and Sean Hurley. That's me. Produced by Jamie Walsh. Edited by Ethan Walsh.